Hey everybody, welcome back in the shed. This is number 20, our 20th edition of In the Shed.
Time flies.
It does fly. And with me as always is Dave. What's going on, Dave?
Not too much, Troy. We're here on location at Dick Gimble's place.
And we're happy
welcome.
We're happy to have him here for sure.
Dick is a professor of music industry careers at MCC, McLennan Community College here in Waco. He's also the son of the late country music fiddling legend Johnny Gimble. How you doing there, Dick?
Good, thank you. Thank you.
And we're sorry for your loss. I mean, Johnny Gimble was a true legend, and I was honored because I worked for the Waco City Cable Channel, and we interviewed him, I think, in 2011 for a little documentary. Remember that? I don't know if you were there that day.
I was sitting there listening to that.
So I put together that video, and you can see it on YouTube if you go on YouTube and look for Johnny Gimble, America's Greatest Fiddler. You can see that. So
Waco Remembers.
It's a Waco Remembers program. Yeah.
Yeah.
It has over 33,000 views.
A guy last weekend said, "Man, I saw this down in Lukenbach."
Really?
That he saw that. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's all out there, and it's a good thing we have the internet. But Dick, you're an accomplished musician. You've played in several bands over the years as well as session work. But I assume there's no denying your musical DNA, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of the middle generation. My dad was just, he's the best at what he did.
Certainly.
And the way he did it was the right way to do things, And so he just incredible, and it blessed all of us. So I had music in my ears from as early as I can remember. And then Emily, my daughter, she got all that talent and genes from my dad, and she's got those ears
not take it away from
can hear anything, and she got the groove. It's cool. Yeah, we're lucky.
So I understand you got your feet wet playing bass in your father's band. This must have been after he'd left Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys.
Yeah, Daddy played with Bob in 48, 49, and I was born in 49. Daddy was on the road with Wills. So in
52, 53, you picked up the bass.
Yeah, somewhere. A 52 precision. Right before they started making them. And, so and then I have twin sisters that are a few years younger.
Are they musically inclined as well?
Not at all. Well, Cindy's a dancer, and they're both crazy about music, but they don't play. And so anyway, I was 13 or 14, and Dad had bought this recorder I was talking about a while ago.
Yeah.
It was a 2-track recorder, but it would let you record 1 track at a time and add a track. It wasn't really multi-track, just 2, but it would add it on top of the track. And so he went and Daddy never owned anything but a couple of fiddles and a mandolin. And he went and borrowed Uncle Eldon's ES 345 Gibson guitar, and he went and borrowed an old K bass fiddle, and he started doing demos for his songs because he didn't want to pay studio time, to demo his songs. He'd been writing for years, and so his studio was in my bedroom at the foot of the bed, and all those instruments are just laying there.
When you were 14, you said?
14.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the bass fiddle kind of intrigued me. It took up half my room, and I bought this record. It was probably one of the most hillbilly, corny records by Claude King called Wolverton Mountain. You ever heard that?
It's
They don't go home. Anyway, I had that spinning. I picked up that bass, and this was totally a God thing, as they say. It was in the key of D, and I thumped around, and there was D note, and I was like playing with that record. And then all you did was root, fifth, root, fifth. And I'm like, dang. And then it went to G, which is the next string. Anyway, I was playing that song. Daddy walked in. He said, you interested in that bass? I'm like, this is pretty cool. And I'm thinking, this is dang easy. That's what I thought. Anyway, so that was where I started. And then he saw my interest. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, I picked up that guitar, and he started showing me guitar. And so that's how I got going. he was showing me chords to play rhythm to his fiddle, and so we could sit back there and jam. It was really
cool. So was he? Was your dad on the road a lot when you were young? I mean,
he was gone. Yeah. Of course, you don't remember when you're 1 and 2 and 3, but when my sisters came along, he quit. He quit Will's.
Is that when you guys moved to Waco?
No, he was in Dallas. Bob Wills built the Bob Wills Ranch House, which became the Longhorn Ballroom later.
Oh, in Dallas?
It was really? Like the Billy Bob's of the world. You know, the
Sex Pistols played there.
Yeah, all right. I saw the Dixie Chicks there. Yeah. But anyway, so when Dad left the band, Bob put him in charge of the house band. So when Wills is on the road, Daddy had the house band there at the ranch house. And he was able to stay around and play. But then, anyway, I remember him coming home. He had a black, one of those humpback lunch boxes and overalls, and he was doing framing, carpenter work during the day and then playing at night. And that was hard on him, hitting his thumb and all that and playing.
Yeah.
So he and 3 of my uncles that were in a band with him earlier talked him into going to barber college. He said, it's not going to hurt you. And you hold your arms up like this all day, so that's good for your fiddling. And so he went to barber college. And anyway.
Even though he had that Bob Wills pedigree behind him, you decided
what happened was Bob Wills...
He got tired of the road?
Wills?
Is that what happened? No, your dad, Johnny. Did he get tired of being on the road all the time?
He wasn't tired of it, but he was just trying to do the right thing to stay home with his family.
Yeah.
Wife and 3 kids. And but Bob, his last hit record was Faded Love in 48.
Yeah, so it was more of a nostalgia act at that
Hank
point.
Williams and Webb Pierce and Ernest Tubb, and everything went from that really... Western swing is complex music. It's like jazz.
It is jazz.
Cowboy jazz. And it went to this 3-chord, what they call the honky-tonk era.
Sure.
And we started singing about divorce rather than, all night long, listen to the fiddle. All
they didn't need any of that
kind
gypsy kind of inflection on the fiddle anymore, right?
Yeah, so he just and then when Elvis hit, he's like...
I'm done.
I ain't doing that. But So he played gigs around Dallas. And, Dallas was a recording mecca before Nashville was. He recorded with Marty Robbins. He played on Lefty Frizzell records, and of course recording with Wills, and a bunch of these people were going to Dallas. Was it KRLD?
That's
AM.
That's the station of KRLD.
They had a soundstage recording thing. They recorded records there in that radio center with Wills recorded there, and all that. But then anyway, I don't know if he'd like me saying this, but all that music to him was just cornball music. 3-chord cornball music. And he liked stuff with kind of jazz changes, like in the 30s and 40s. If it didn't swing, it didn't mean a thing,
right.
So, we went to Friends. I went to 11 elementary schools before I got to the 5th grade. We moved around a lot, trying to figure out what's going on.
And he realized what he was probably doing to his family, I guess, to some degree, huh? But he had to follow his path, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure what to say. It's okay to say this because he let this out in an interview with Rick somebody.
Rick Dees?
Kinsey, I think it was.
Okay.
Was doing an interview with him and for the Austin Chronicle.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, when Texas Monthly interviewed him, he said, well, I've been married to my wife 3 times. They were asking him that question, just asking me. I've married Barbara 3 times. And he said the divorces just never did work out. That was his line. And my mother was so like, you said that in the interview? You told everybody? But it wasn't easy. They split up, and he would try you know, he didn't believe in divorce and whatever, but my mother had all she could handle of a gone daddy, you know. He was just out playing, and so it's a price. It's hard to do.
Seems like the die was struck at an early age. Did you know you were destined to be a musician, or did you want to be a fireman or an architect or anything when you were a kid, or what?
No, I didn't think about it much. I guess the first thing I thought about doing was somewhere in the 9th or 10th grade, I realized I had issues, and I started reading books about psychology, thinking I would become a psychologist. And
that's pretty deep for a ninth
I'd go down to the Waco library and check out books, and I didn't understand a damn thing that I was reading, but I was trying to read it and understand it. So that was my only other, like, kind of calling, or be a preacher or something.
Yeah.
You know? And but the thing that happened to me was after Daddy showed me some chords on the guitar, that was pretty fun. I really just loved playing. And I was into the Ventures.
Sure.
You remember those guys?
They launched 1 million rock bands.
Yeah. So after I got a handful of chords, I was like, hey, Daddy, come back here and show me this. We walked on Run. And he looked at me and he said, Dick, if you want to learn that crap, you can figure it out yourself. All the notes that are on his guitar are on your guitar. And I was so like, what? You're not going to help me? And he walked out of the room. Well, that just kind of made me sad and made me hack me off at the same time. So I started, you know, 45 RPM, you set the needle down, and I'd set it off and I'd go, and finally find those two notes. And that's the way I learned, is one note at a time, copying those guys.
That's how a lot of people learn. Did you start a band when you were in high school?
Yeah, we did. We had a group called the Bishops. And it was Jerry Eccles and Harold Hutchison and me and Mickey Williams. And
what kind of music were you playing?
We were copying. Our first song we learned was Louie Louie, and it was a 60 garage band thing. And we had 3 guitar players and drums and a guy that sang. And they kept, I was playing bass in my daddy's band, and they kept going, you need to play bass. And I'm like, I'm the lead guitar man, what are you talking about?
Yeah, right.
And I'd saved my bass fiddle playing money and bought a Telecaster, and that's what I wanted to do. So anyway, they fired me and hired a guy named James Smith, I think. I'm not sure. But anyway, he had a Fender bass guitar and a Bassman amp, which that qualifies. You know.
So they probably regret that now.
Oh, no.
Where are they now?
Well, they became the Knightsbridge Quintet, and they did really good. They were, do you remember the Mortician days? Like, that's why we started playing, because we heard the Mortician.
I've been here 20 years, and Troy's probably been here about as long, but those guys are still playing. But
yeah,
they've been around forever.
Yeah, in 66 and 7, they were like, oh my gosh, they were rock gods to us, because they were so good.
We interviewed a lot of those guys from the beginning of when they started out up until today.
Well, as a young man, did you have an appreciation for your father's talent and his status in the realm of Western swing and country music?
Oh, as a young man, as a young kid, I did not at all. But I woke up somewhere in my early 20s and started going. And you
realized your dad was Johnny Gimble.
Well, I knew that all along. But I just was not into that old hillbilly music and country music. I didn't like it. I was into the Yardbirds and the Kinks and the Stones and Paul Revere and the Raiders, just whatever, all the kids were into.
Yeah.
I went to Midway High School, and we started that band, the Bishops, which became the Knightsbridge Quintet. After they let me go, I started another band, my buddies, called the Huntington Complex. Go figure.
Was that a psychology thing?
That was the drummer's idea.
I don't remember.
he thought
I don't remember that complex in my college studies of psychology, but
we played every day after school, 2 or 3 hours, somebody's garage, and all the kids would come around, and then we started playing dances. And at that time in Waco, there was the roller rink that became the Compass, which I'm not sure if that building's even there anymore.
over on Waco Drive.
Yeah. And there was a place called the Go-Go Inn, which is now George's across the street place.
Yeah.
Annex, what, anyway.
You're right. Yeah.
That was the Go-Go Inn. We played there. There's one called Act 5. And there were 4 teenage clubs that served, Dr. Pepper and popcorn, soda pop, Big Red, whatever.
And live music.
And rock music.
Yeah.
Man, it was so cool. We all got places to play. We played the prom for Riker and anyway, all those gigs. That was what I was into. But when I graduated from high school, well, the crazy thing that happened to me, this is a cool story. I've been playing that bass fiddle for a couple of years, but I was really into this rock group that we were doing. And the phone rang one afternoon, and this guy named George Nethery, who had the Waco Society band of that day, like put on a tuxedo.
Played the junior league things.
And
all
played
that.
Ridgewood
Right.
and the ballroom dancing kind of
Right.
deal. And his bass player, who had been with him for like 30 years, on Friday afternoon got ticked off and quit the band on Friday. And they had a gig Friday and Saturday night. And so George called every bass player in town, which there weren't many, and nobody could do it. So anyway, I'm back in my room, and Daddy says, "Dick, I need to borrow your bass." And I'm like, "Sure. What are you going to do with it?" He said, "I got a gig." And he comes out with a suit and a tie, which my daddy, I think, only had one suit and one tie, and I never saw him wear it. And he heads off to the country club. And that was an 8 o'clock gig. At 9 o'clock, the phone rang again. Daddy said, "Put on a suit and tie, get my fiddle and my mandolin, and get over here to country club. I've got blisters on my blisters, and my fingers are bleeding over here from picking that thing,
Oh yeah.
So I go,
Because he's used to holding a bow.
oh, real delicate
Yeah, right.
stuff.
His right hand was probably soft as a
It
baby's
was
body.
just crazy. So I go down there and made the middle of the second set and started playing. And I don't know if you ever played The Girl from Ipanema or Stardust? I mean, it's like, oh my gosh. The changes are just
Stan Getz,
all over the place.
Well, did you read
And
music? Or
Yeah,
do you-
I did.
Did you have to read music for
you
this
have-
gig?
No,
or
nobody
they,
had music.
You just
Nobody
had
had
to pick it up
paper.
and play it.
Okay, so
Nobody had paper on the gigs. And I was just like, I felt like I was lost all night.
So who did you follow? Usually,
Well, there's a
usually
guy-
people follow the bass player. They look at the bass player.
Yes.
Because he's
That's kind of
you
a
look
burden.
you look for the root note and you just follow along with the bass player. But if the bass player doesn't know what's going on,
That's exactly right.
you hum a few bars
Exactly
and
right.
fake it, right?
Well, this guy named Bobby Merle that had a music shop, and he fixed amps and everything. And he was the lead guitar player, the guitar player in that band. And Bobby, I'd known Bobby since I was 13 or 14. He was just watching me. And he could kind of tell when I was fixing to get lost.
So he
And
turned it towards you.
He'd play like an
yeah,
E-form bar
yeah,
chord,
yeah.
like he knew I knew that. And I was like, okay, next change. And anyway,
so you stumbled through it. And
we finished that gig. We're packing up and going home, and George comes over and says, "Dick, I'd like to hire you in my band." And I'm like, "What?"
you were
Are you
18?
kidding?
Were you 18 at
I was
this time?
17.
17, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't think I can handle this.
So did you quit your rock band and join this
Yeah.
band, or did you
Yeah.
have both bands going at the same
Well,
time?
my rock band was making $40 to $50 for the band.
Oh, that's what we make now in Waco.
And that's for the whole band. And George was guaranteed me at least $30 per gig and 40 on some of these hoity-toity things. And I'm like, okay, if you want to try it. And so, man, I learned so much. I played with there till I was out of high school. And learned all those standard tunes. God, it's crazy. But when I graduated from high school, May the 28th, 1968, Daddy and Mother moved to Nashville. because they had been calling him and saying, you should come up here and be a session musician. And I'm like, I had a scholarship to MCC, and I didn't really like country music. My plan was to play jazz, you know, and Dr. Haskett out there offered me a full scholarship to come play bass in the jazz band. And I was in love with this girl.
And MCC was only a few years old at that time, right?
Yes, it was.
Because I think it's like their 50th anniversary right now, right?
We were still on the old James Connolly, which is TSTC now. That was our campus. The band hall was a barracks, you know.
But they had a music program even from the very beginning, huh?
Yeah. Had a concert band and a jazz band. And let's see, I went the summer, 68, and the fall of 68, and then at Christmas, they finished the campus, building the new campus. So we moved out there in January of 69, I think it was. And oh, man, what a beautiful place. And we were all the hep cats playing the jazz, you know. So I did that, and Daddy's in Nashville. And then when I left...
Did you have a pair of dark sunglasses back then?
Yeah, and I smoked a pipe.
Yeah,
I smoked a pipe.
Did you have a cool little hat? I mean, you were a hipster back in the 60s, so...
It was fun. Then I went to UT and played in the UT Jazz Ensemble.
In Austin?
Yeah. And anyway, and then Dad said, you need to come to Nashville. You could do this. You can make a good living and not have to travel.
So he wanted you to go to Nashville. Did he know that you didn't really like country music? But he said, no, you can make some money. You move to Nashville and make some money.
But your dad was playing with everybody in Nashville during those days, right?
At that time, he hadn't quite broken in.
Okay.
To all the big things. And I was in school, and I'm like, I don't know, wait till I get out of school. And I married Marilyn, which was the main reason I stayed in Texas. And I told her I wouldn't go on the road and wreck up our family, you know. So when I got out of UT, I went to Nashville. And we lived up there for nearly 2 years. But I was just kind of, I got to play some cool sessions with some people, learned a lot about working in the studio, but I just didn't like it. Country music was.
So did you move back to Austin at that point?
Yeah, I was up there nearly 2 years, and some of my buddies in the UT Jazz Ensemble called me and said, "Why don't you come back and play bass? We're starting this band, and we're booked every weekend. You know, that's all I needed." And Marilyn was ready to come back because her family's down there and everything. And Daddy was just griping, man, it's like going to a factory and recording these songs. But he was starting to get sessions with Conway and Loretta and George Jones. And Merle Haggard and him became real good friends. And, Merle was learning to play fiddle at that time, and Daddy was his teacher. And anytime he went through Nashville, Merle called Daddy and said, I need a lesson. And Daddy would call me and say, like at 2:30 or 3, Merle's bus is driving into Nashville and we're going to be playing. Get your guitar and come over here and back us up, you know.
Wow.
And so we'd start playing at 3
really
a.m. and we'd play till
with Merle
10
Haggard.
or 11. Yeah, with Daddy and Haggard and me. I'm the rhythm guitar slave, you know. But it was really cool. That was some good stuff.
That is pretty cool.
Well,
speaking of playing, do you want to play a song for us?
Yeah. I'll play you a tune.
All right, cool.
A little intro. Here's a little tune I wrote. I was inspired on the morning that I turned 60. Went and looked into the mirror, and this is what I saw. I got a red and white goatee. It tells me age is growing on me. It used to be all red like the hair on my head, but it's red, white goatee. Well, I could try some red dye, but then again, why? Well, that's a hassle, and it wouldn't be real. Some people would scoff, I'd have to shave it off, but I need it for my sex appeal. I got a red and white goatee, and age is coming on me. It used to be all red like the hair on my head, but it's a red and white goatee. Sometime after pediatric, before geriatric, comes the day that you understand. You just play out your game and hope you'll play out your game. No, you'll never be the same as the way you used to be back then. Too many words. I run a red and white goatee. I know that age is growing on me. It used to be all red like the hair on my head, but it's a red and a white goatee. A red and white goatee. I got a red and white goatee. There's one of them songs.
That's nice.
Oh,
Beautiful.
It's been too long since I sang it. I write these songs and I don't ever play them.
That's pretty good for pulling it out of your hat like that.
Well, we've talked a bit about you and your dad's musical history, but there's another Gimble, your daughter Emily, that has made a name for herself. Talk about her a little bit.
How much time you got? I can do that.
As long as you want.
I remember seeing her a few years back at MCC playing with you and your dad, and
Yeah.
I was amazed. Her piano playing and voice just blew me away for sure.
Well, it would really get you now. I've got 3 kids. They all played music growing up, some, but Emily stuck with it. Jenny became a sports, what do you call it? Sports medicine, like athletic trainer,
Yeah.
and actually was for Waco High for a while. And then she started having babies. We got grandkids, which is really awesome.
That's nice.
Neat family. Then my son he can do just about anything he wants to, but right now he's a district clerk here in Waco
Oh, yeah.
and doing an incredible job in spite of all the trials and the bad crap that goes on here in town.
There's a lot of stuff going on right now.
I've seen signs of your son's name around town in
He's
different
doing
places.
so
I was wondering
good.
if it was the same Gimble.
Yeah, but then Emily's our youngest, and she and I kind of got connected at the musical hips, and she's started playing fiddle when she was 4, doing the Suzuki thing, and then when she was about 7 or 8, Daddy was showing her some fiddle stuff, and she I don't want to do that classical music. I want to play fiddle. But Daddy was
So she
in Austin.
punted the Suzuki method for the
Fiddle, she thought, but she would
Rapelli
not-
method or whatever.
Yeah, she would not practice, and I'm not going to make my kids practice.
Sure.
If they don't want to play, then I would. So that went on. I said, look, if you're not going to play this thing, you need to find something you will play, because we all knew she was so gifted. She's got perfect pitch and perfect time. Anyway, so she started playing piano, taking lessons every week, and had a real good teacher. And so that's what she did all through high school. Then she decided, I'm going to MCC and do the commercial music thing with my dad, and which is called Music Industry Careers now. And she did that program in 2 years, which hardly anybody gets through it that fast. And she learned to play piano and sing. She's been singing since she was about 3. But she's awesome. She played in the band in high school. Oh my gosh! And she got with a bunch of her buddies, like all the rebels, and they had a punk band. And I'd let them rehearse in my studio, and I'm like, oh my God, that's what my dad thought about me when I was playing.
That's right.
It's funny how it's the next generation is always.
Oh, it was horrible. And I was just going, and she sat there, she started doing this, singing kind of stuff, and I was like,
When she was in high school?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, by the grace of God, 2 things happened. Nora Jones came out with that record.
Yeah.
You know the one?
Yeah, her
And-
first album she won a Grammy on.
Yeah, 8 of them. 8 Grammys from that one album. I heard
She's from
it.
Dallas.
Yeah. That's where she went to school.
The magnet school?
Arts magnet school.
She went to
up
the
there.
same schools? As a lot of great
I'm not
musicians have come out of that school.
Yeah, she's amazing. So anyway, Emily heard that and loved it. And then the guys in the band kicked her out because they didn't want a girl in the band anymore. She cried for a few days. And I was rejoicing.
Well, beats getting a mohawk and a tattoo and trying to win a way back in.
So
right?
she started learning those Nora Jones tunes
Yeah.
on the piano. And anyway, so when she got out of MCC, she stuck around for a few months and said, I can't stay in Waco and make it as a musician. It's just not going to happen.
Smart move.
So she moved to Austin, and she moved about 5 times in the first 3 years. But she kept getting with better and better bands, playing swing music from the 30s and the 40s, and just she learned a solo. Well, the whole time she's playing with Johnny Gimble and Texas Swing, our band, too, you know. But Daddy doesn't work like he's 80-something years old. He didn't want to
Was
play.
she down there when you were doing the Guero's gig?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We played that for 5 years.
Yeah.
Like the third Thursday every month. And Emily,
Right in that beautiful little courtyard area right there. Yeah, it's a nice little place.
What was that? 05 till 010.
Right.
We did that gig.
So she probably perked up a few ears in Austin just doing that.
Oh, she's won the Austin Chronicle poll for top piano player twice.
No kidding.
Which she takes it in stride. She says, Dad, this is ridiculous. There's Danny Levin, there's Floyd Domino. She named all the piano players she learned from, you know.
Well, there was Ian McLagan for a while, too.
Yeah, that's true.
And now he's gone.
But it's a vote thing.
Yeah.
You know, but that's still, and she got in the top 5 of vocalist 2-3 years in a row. So she's just doing great. She called me from I don't know where.
So how did she, with Ray Benson, I mean, I know he's out of Austin. I think he's a Jersey boy originally, but he's been out of Austin
He's
forever.
from West Virginia.
West Virginia.
And the band was formed in Philadelphia, which is not far from West Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of Jewish kids.
Yeah.
Every one of them you couldn't pronounce their last name.
Somehow they took this liking to Western swing, and
Bob Wills flipped them out.
and then moved to Austin, and
Well, they moved from Philly to, because Jerry Garcia and all that out there, they went to San Francisco and were playing, and Willie Nelson came through and did the Fillmore.
sure,
And
Fillmore West.
Yeah, they opened for him. Ray told me this. Said, we opened the show for Willie, and Willie said, you guys, you're all about Texas music, Western swing. Said, that's what we do. So you're in the wrong place. You need to move to Austin. And that was 73. And which is crazy, because my dad had called me. The first album they recorded, they did in Nashville, and Daddy played fiddle on it. And he called me after. He said, Dick, man, there's a bunch of hippies playing Western swing music. It was a crazy bunch.
Armadillo back then, right?
And he said, you might check them out. Well, as things would go, when they moved to Austin, they moved 2 doors from our house. There was Dick and Marilyn and Bob and Carmen and Asleep at the Wheel in the next house. And I was walking up the street one night and heard all this racket in that house. Western swing music went up, and it was Ray and Chris O'Connell and fiddle player was. Anyway, it's crazy. So we started staying up playing.
And that's like your dad's music, and it's right there, huh? That must have been kind of serendipitous and weird at the same time, huh?
Yeah, there was something about that. So anyway, it got to me. That's when I really started digging swing. We just stayed up and played all night and drank beer and whatever, you know. And it was fun music. I was studying classical at the time with Joseph Castle, which for 2 years I learned so much. But it's all
this
about
is early
discipline.
70s, and so this is
71, 72.
very interesting time to be in Austin for sure.
So when they showed up in 73 in the Armadillo World headquarters and all that's going on, and Willie really helped him out a lot. And Ray is such a gregarious, motivated, go-getter dude that he's not afraid of anything, and he just walks right up to the top people and hooks up, you know.
Well, he is like 6'8" or something, so you know, it's hard to ignore, I guess, huh?
It's amazing. That band's been together for 40 years.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, they played Brazos Nights a couple of years ago, and
yeah, I was there.
put on a great show.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
I'm hoping to book them this spring. I got commissioned by the school to book all talent that is ex-MCC what do you call it? Alumni, MCC
affiliated or whatever. Yeah.
So I'm planning on trying to get the wheel if we can afford them, because Emily's in there and Katie Shore.
Well, you ought to be able to get friend prices.
And
you know,
you don't tell them that. You don't tell that to an agency. They'll jack it up.
tell it to your daughter and tell your daughter to tell Ray and tell Ray to tell the agency.
Well, we'll see what we can do. Ruthie Foster.
Yeah, Ruthie's great. I've seen her. She's alumni. Yeah,
in America.
Are they alumni of
that guy? That 9 foot tall guy, Ezra.
Yeah, Ezra. Yeah.
Pound? No, that's the short.
So are these shows you're going to try to book for River Sounds, or is this something separate where you have people who have to pay to get in?
Series is
so you're going to do this whole series, so it's free, yeah. Well, that's awesome.
I love that venue.
Sons of the Desert.
Well, let me know, and we'd love to video those things for sure. If we can, if we have permission from, of course, the managers and the labels, that's always.
We're good with that.
Yeah.
So Emily's enjoying her stay in Austin and touring all around the world.
She's found a buddy that's a songwriter that's been writing music for her. She's kind of co-writing some, but she doesn't feel like. She's like, I don't feel like I write very good songs, and she just won't do it unless it's awesome. But she's working on her own album. It's kind of pop music. It's crazy.
Maybe she can go on The Voice or something, huh?
She got invited. They called her. She wouldn't do it. It was like, this is before she got with the wheel. And it's like somebody told them about me, and they've been writing in there.
I mean, it's done.
Seen some videos, and it's like I would have to cancel all my work, and I pay my bills playing gigs.
Right.
You know, to be out there for 6 weeks. And they don't pay you anything.
Right.
You know, it's kind of crazy. So, like, she did the pragmatic, whatever, starving musician thing. Kept her gigs.
Good for her.
Yeah.
So you eventually decided to settle down in Waco and, teach at MCC and got a family here and everything. How long have you been at MCC?
35 years this year. I get my own parking place.
Wow.
In May, I get to pick a place that I can
Cool.
park.
Do you get a sign with that?
Yeah, I came down here like my
Violators will be
fingernails were in the asphalt of I-35. But my wife and my mother-in-law talked me into taking this gig, and I said, I'll go to Waco for 3 years.
Plus
3 turned into
plus
10.
32.
Yeah, plus it was.
Hate to say it, but I think you're in for the long haul now.
I think I am. It was like, I kept my band together in Austin. We were a cover band, but we were like the best one, playing country and dancehall music and western swing. And we played Count Basie and we played Stevie Wonder. You know, it was just crazy. And I was like, it took too long to put this together and get this happening. I want to keep working. So I came to MCC every Friday at 3. I'd get
the
my
road.
truck and we'd go somewhere. Of course, I was in my 30s then. And like to kill me. So after about a year and a half, I gave the band up and became a Waco boy.
Owen.
Yeah.
Waco.
How long have you been out here and had the studio?
We moved here in 03. And it took me about 5 years to build this place because I was paying cash.
By the way, it's a pretty awesome
Yeah.
space.
I don't know if we mentioned that at the beginning. Did we mention that at the beginning of the show?
No, but I'm looking at thousands of dollars worth of guitars, and it's kind of like
we don't want to mention that.
Oh, wait, well, yeah, we don't know where it
So
is.
the crazy thing happened last year. Ted Nugent did his record right here.
Did he?
Yeah. The Kutz is playing drums right there. Ted's 3 or 4 Marshall.
Like, I think Kutz told us about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Well, did he do some at David Zacek's studio too?
Well, they've been doing demos. Ted is close to David, and Calvin Ross, I think, are his two best buddies, and then he's been using Jonathan because John's just such a hoss to record all those demos. There's like 12, 15 songs.
So they recorded the demos at Zacek's
Yeah, when
place.
he would come up with 2 or 3 tunes,
I got you.
they'd go over there and record the demos.
Yeah.
But David's incredible engineer, and for rock stuff, you can't beat him. But the space is real small.
Yeah.
In this big room with wood walls, the drums, they had a mic up there in that corner, one over here, and about 800. It sounded like he was in
an arena.
Yeah, it was good. And they recorded all at once. I mean,
Yeah, it
bass
sounds like
player's
it'd be
right
a pretty
here.
live room. I mean, I bet you it sounds
Well,
really good.
this used to be carpeted.
Yeah.
This will definitely be the best In the Shed podcast sounding recording we've ever had. I can guarantee you that.
There's no jets flying outside.
Yeah,
no
that's
no
right.
Harleys driving out in front of my house.
We usually do these in his shed. That's why it's called In the Shed.
It's in my
Yeah.
backyard.
His shed is in his backyard.
And you live where you told me about Lake Shore.
Off Lakeshore, so I live off Forester. So,
Yeah, so there's traffic,
there's traffic
and airplanes because
Oh,
the airport's
yeah.
right out there.
ambient noise. Just,
We get them over here,
Yeah.
but it doesn't lead through very
There's
much.
no door to the shed. I mean, there is
Oh.
a door, but if we close the door,
we would die.
we wouldn't be able to fit
Yeah.
in the shed. I mean, that's how
Or
small.
we would
The
perish.
shed
because
is
it's-
like smaller than your stage right
yeah.
there.
Oh my goodness.
So,
It's about 8 by 12 or something like that. So,
but it works. It works out.
It's got a
a
certain.
cool
It's got a
thing.
certain je ne sais quoi.
Exactly. I was going to say the same thing. So you were also on Austin City Limits a few times. Talk about that. Who, what, when, where, and all that good
Well,
stuff. I mean, that's
Being
pretty
there,
major.
we got to do a pretty early show with Dad. He gathered up all these old guys that were his influence that played with the Light Crystal Boys and Milton Brown, like the very first. He was the king of swing before Bob Wills.
Right.
And all those guys, he got them together in a studio up in Dallas, Summit Burnett. And I didn't play on that record because I wasn't old enough. But I took the photos and helped. Anyway, then we did a show on Austin City Limits, 77 or 8. I don't know, somewhere along
They're on
there.
like their 40th year, so that would have been one of the earliest ones.
And
So,
Terry,
so
I got
how old
acquainted
were
with
you?
Terry.
I mean, just think back to that time. How old were you in that?
I was in my 30s.
Okay.
Is that right? No, I was in my 20s, my mid-20s.
I mean, Austin City Limits has a reputation now of what it is, but
we
but
did
were
that
you
show,
nervous?
and
Were
I
you
got
nervous going on?
No, not at all. I was in a band, and I was playing bass. That's why I do. I love it.
So who was
but
that?
Terry Lacona, the producer of that, and I got acquainted. And then Merle Travis came, who's one of my heroes. Man,
Phenomenal
and-
guitars, one of the greats.
yeah, songwriter. Good
Yeah.
grief, 9-Pound Hammer, and, just all those classic things he did. And he wanted a rhythm section to back him up, so I got called to do that. And then Charlie Pride came a year or two later, and he had done a gig in New York. That show was on Tuesday nights in Austin. They did that weekend. The bus was going somewhere else, so he just flew down and did the city limits, and then flew back to the band bus. So that band I was telling you about that we had together, we backed up Charlie on that.
You were kind of almost like a house band at that point.
Yeah,
right?
we backed up Tom T. Hall, and then Daddy did another show of swing people. I don't know. I think it was on 8 episodes.
Did you ever hit a wrong note?
Probably. I don't know.
Could they
I
edit
just
it out
don't-
back then?
It's weird. It's like I worry more about playing that little tune I did for y'all a while ago when I do these solo duo gigs than I do, because I've been playing that bass fiddle since I was 14 and
Yeah.
a billion notes. And
It's like second nature.
yeah, when Daddy's band, when we disbanded in 2010, he got just too old and feeble to go to gigs. I started playing guitar all the time, just playing guitar, because I wanted to write songs and play guitar. Dang it,
How many instruments do you play? Or can
I
you
got
play?
14 guitars.
Can you play them at the same time? That's the question.
Play bass, mandolin, and guitar, pretty much.
Never really picked up the fiddle, huh?
I have one.
Okay.
When I was 30,
It's a pretty humbling instrument if you don't know what you're doing.
35 years. Yeah, Daddy tried to teach me when I was 9, and he had me come back. I wanted to play steel guitar because I just thought that was the coolest sound. He's like, we don't have a steel guitar, but we got.
You like a Buddy
2
Emmons
fiddles.
fan or
Oh yeah, all those cats.
he
knocked
just
me
died.
out.
That really was
Knocked me out. And so he's like, we don't have a steel guitar, we don't have any money, so you'll play the fiddle. And I was like, you got to stick your arm around here, and it hurts your neck,
Yeah.
and then it sounds horrive.
Yeah, it does.
It
I've
is.
tried to play.
Yeah.
I've tried to play one before. It's just.
I'm scared to try because
Yeah.
you know
It's just.
Well, I played for 7 years and actually did gigs for the last couple of years.
Okay.
But I just never was worth a damn, you know.
You're pretty good on guitar, I must say.
It took away from my guitar and bass playing. I don't know. Because I'm a professor and I work, you know, every day. I guess I could come home and play at night. I'm happy I come out here. I've got this little thing right here called the Ditto. Just a little loop station.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you play a little lick and then you just.
No, I play
chord progression.
Please don't talk about me when I some old swing tune, and I chomp those chords out and then I stomp on it and I got a rhythm section.
Yeah.
And I'll play. I'll look up. I've been playing this same song for 25 minutes. You know, solo. I've been playing this 2-minute song for 25 minutes.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I just love jamming.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's not too many swing players around here in Wacko. But there's a bunch of these young cats that play in the country bands and stuff that have been asking me to teach them. I'm thinking about just having a Tuesday night.
We've had quite a few of them in the shed, believe me.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, we cover all flavors.
I wish I would have known about the music program at MCC when I first moved to Waco, but I didn't have a clue. I went to TSTC for audiovisual production.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, you're making a living.
I don't know about that. Audio and video.
Yeah.
Neither one really makes a whole lot of music or a whole lot of money.
You know, it's like I've been reading this stuff about where the business is headed, and they said for anybody that's planning on being an engineer and audio people, you better learn audio too, because they're just linked now all the time because of YouTube.
Yeah,
people expect a
quality
good
product.
Audio.
Exactly.
Well, with kids these days, I mean, everything's on the computer. You know, you got all these programs that are cheap.
You got Pro Tools.
I mean, I use Logic Pro X. It's an awesome program, and I just record music at my house all the time by myself.
It's like when I first started this thing in 2008, the studio, we were pretty busy. And just in that amount of time, how long has that been? 7 years?
Yeah.
We have all these, we have 7, 8, 9, 10 audio students graduate, and every one of them have got a DAW in their garage or their back bedroom, and they're recording people for nothing.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Or beans.
It's a tough road to hoe, man. I mean, it's not like it used to be, and technology's made it great. It's made it so accessible in every field. Really.
Used to bands used to have would sit in a garage, and they would learn the songs, and they would go over the songs and practice the songs and get them perfect. Now they just record one thing, and then they can if that note is just a little too far to one way or the other, they'll just move it back and forth. It's all fixed in post now. Pretty much.
Oh yeah, we're Pro Tools with all that jive, and I'll play a bass track, and we're going there and listen to playbacks, and David Middlebrook's my engineer, and I'll go, whoop, right there, 2 minutes and 20 seconds. That note, I won't have to go fix that, you know. And he won't say nothing, and we're going through to the end, and he's already gone back and taken a C sharp out of some other measure and stuck it right there.
Well, the great equalizer is still live music. So
that's right.
Support your live music, people.
Amen.
Exactly.
Amen, brother.
Well, got any more questions?
No, this is great.
I wore you guys out.
Yeah, you wore us out. Do you have any other songs maybe in the bank, or
I don't
you want to just?
I got.
Go ahead.
This tune, I wrote not the words, but I wrote the music to it. We have, you see the big cross. We have church in here on Sunday night, just a little bitty church, and this I read this in a book, and then the very next day, the guy that was teaching a lesson over here said the same words to me, and anyway, it's called the Prayer of St. Francis. You ever heard that? May the Lord bless you and keep you. May He turn His face to you. It's a little blessing. and have mercy, have mercy. May he show his countenance to you and give you peace. May he give you peace. Amen.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Dick.
Dick Gimble in the shed. Hey, it's truly an honor to have you in the shed this evening.
Thank you. It's
Appreciate
great
it.
to be in the shed,
All right.
on the shed.